Welcome to Fiore Calls Game, brought to you by CC O'Brien's. CC O'Brien's is your local Irish sports cafe that offers a wide selection of pub food and draft beer. With 22 TVs, including individual booth TVs, you can catch all your favorite sports games while enjoying a meal. And now, here's your host, Andrew Fiore.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on to Fiore Calls Game. I am your host, Andrew Fiore, and I have Keegan Quakenbush here with me, the host of Pesky Talk on YouTube. It's a bit of a crossover episode here, but Keegan runs a bigger YouTube channel talking about baseball. You've got, 22,000 subs?
Yes, around there.
Yeah, impressive numbers there, but I'm going to ask you a little about your page, about what got you into it, and then we'll just talk some baseball because, man, this World Series has been incredible. So there's a lot to talk about. But yeah, when did you get started making the page?
So this page specifically, I started in 2023. I think it was November of 2023. I was mad at the Red Sox season, and I just made a video kind of bashing John Henry. I was annoyed. I wanted people, even if it was just a couple of people, to hear my thoughts on just being mad at John Henry and just making a change, even though it was obviously never going to make a change. That video did end up reaching like 8,000 people. So for a first video, that's not too bad. So it kind of got me motivated to make more. But yeah, that's when it started, like 2023, around the end of it.
So what led you to want to make more?
Well, actually before that video, I had another channel too where I was making MLB The Show stuff. Those views were not nearly as good. I got like 8,000 views, maybe 10 times, probably not even 10 times, maybe like 5 or 6 times in 100-ish videos. So then seeing that 8,000 immediately, I was like, oh, there's more of an audience for this. I'd rather push towards this and commit to this channel and make more like this.
That's awesome. And you put a lot into those videos, pulling up the graphics, the highlights, impressive stuff. It looks like a lot of the like pro YouTube channels I watch, like iTalk Studios, those sorts of things, and the long video essays. How do you get all that done, and how long does it take to make a video?
It totally depends on how it just completely depends on the video. If it's like an evergreen video, I'll definitely take more time on it. But during the playoffs, especially during the divisional series, I really just wanted to make a video on every team that got eliminated quickly. So if I'm pushing out a video like that, I'll quickly jot down notes on a script. I won't fully script it, and then I'll just go and get some like that team making errors or giving up home runs. So those kinds of videos are shorter. Those can be like 4 5 hour long projects. But the bigger videos, like the 30-minute team breakdown videos, those can be 40, 50 hours worth of work. I don't use AI or anything on any of my scripting, any of my thumbnails or anything like that. So it's full. I'll sit here, I'll write out an entire script. I'll find all the clips myself, all the graphics myself, and then all the editing. It can take a really long time to make some of these videos.
Wow. A lot of work goes into it, but the product is good. I watched your Blue Jays one just before this, figured that was timely. And that one had like over 200,000 views, which is absurd.
Yeah.
But how long did that one take? It was like 20 minutes long?
That one I think actually took I don't think that one actually took too much time because I was rushed in that video, actually. That was one of the most rushed I've ever felt making a video because I had to leave to go to Florida basically right before I uploaded that video. I think it was uploading while I was on the airplane. So I like had to fly through that video, and I was not expecting that one to do very well at all. So it's kind of crazy. It keeps going up. Like every time the Blue Jays win a game, it's going up like 10,000 views right now. I was looking at the demographics. It's like 90% Canadian viewers. It's crazy. That fan base is kind of nuts. But yeah, that one probably took me around 20 hours to make. again, because I do it all by myself, it can take some time, especially if like I'm putting the graphics in and I'm really editing the video well, like a video essay. Yeah, probably around 20 for that one.
That's absurd. I mean, that video aged incredibly well.
Mhm.
You lucked out with the Blue Jays going this far too,
Pretty
getting
cool.
views. But yeah, let's just get into it. You talked in the video about the Blue Jays, especially offensively, focusing on contact, which is something you don't see anymore. And lo and behold, that's what's brought them this far.
Mhm.
Even though they've hit more home runs than expected in this postseason, I think that take aged really well for you about their contact hitting taking them far.
Mhm. Yeah, the Brewers too. They didn't hit home runs. It didn't work against the Dodgers in the NLCS, obviously, but before that, they were beating everyone with that same contact approach. And I think my next video after the Blue Jays video was the Brewers video that I made as well. It was how the Brewers are the best team in baseball as well, or something. And would have been really cool if I got both of those in the World Series when I said that those were the best two teams in baseball. But I guess getting one of them is cool enough. But yeah, I think that the contact, it's a good approach, especially with a team like the Dodgers who are just trying to strike you out, like Blake Snell and Shohei Ohtani and Tyler Glass now. They want strikeouts, Yamamoto as well. If you're not giving them strikeouts, it's not that they're not good defensively, but when you put the ball in play, good things can happen. And that's what the Blue Jays do. So it works effectively for them.
They're the antithesis of the Yankees in my eyes. The Yankees awful defensively, not a good fundamental team, but they have guys that can just bash, and that's
Mhm.
about it. And the Blue Jays, like you pointed out in your video, they have defense, the bullpen's solidly constructed. They just built the team so that there would be no holes. Instead of flashiness, they just built depth. Whereas the
Mhm.
Yankees, I mean, the Yankees are better this year than they were last year, in my opinion. But they're just, they've got those top few guys they bash, and then not much else going on there. And like the Dodgers pointed out in their scouting report last year, they'll just beat themselves. So
Mhm.
it's no wonder the Blue Jays didn't really face any problems against the Yankees.
Yeah, for sure. And if the Blue Jays are hitting home runs, if they're out homering the Yankees, I mean, what do the Yankees have against them? Like, really, if they're out homering any team in the league, what does that team have against the Blue Jays at this point? You can't really beat them if they're going to out homer you as well, because they're also going to outperform you on the base paths and defensively, just putting the ball in play in general. You might be able to get them with the bullpen, but the Dodgers can't. Their bullpen isn't great either, although I guess in game 3 it was good.
Out of nowhere. The base paths hasn't looked that great for the Blue
No.
Jays. They've had a few really bad mistakes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Something I think they need to clean up. But you're right. I mean, they're a contact team that's now hitting home runs. You saw what they did to the Yankees in game 2, I believe that was, when they hit like some absurd amount, like 4 or
Yeah.
5. And then even in game 1 of the World Series, they had a few. You had the grand slam it was Barger, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Vladdy hitting one last night, and then they just kept tacking on more runs through contact. You saw Jimenez had the big hit to break the game. But it's like you said, I mean, if they're homering, you can't really beat them. And that bullpen has been stellar. Lauer, who you made a point to highlight in your video, went deep in game 3,
Mm-hmm.
covering the distance there for Toronto. But yeah, it's a best of 3 now
Mm-hmm. With
with
2 in
the
Toronto.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Technically,
I
they're
I
advantage.
said I said it. I believe it was my last show before the World Series. I think that this is going to be far closer than people think.
Yeah.
Um,
I had a lot of my friends saying that they were hoping that Seattle was going to make it over Toronto because they thought that they had a better chance of beating the Dodgers, and I was like, I don't think that they do. I think the contact is the only way that you're going to be able to beat the Dodgers. You're not going to be able to beat them by just homering. It's not going to work. You're not going to get runners on base against them if you're not making contact like the Blue Jays do.
Yeah, I said in the very beginning of the postseason, I had like 3 teams that I thought were the best constructed. I said Mariners, Phillies, which didn't age well, and the Blue Jays. And I got some eyebrows raised about the Blue Jays. I was like, nah, I think this is a good team. I think they just have so much depth. And I was kind of in the opposite in the ALCS. I was rooting for the Mariners because I like both of them. I like the Mariners and Blue Jays a lot. But, like, it just would have been cool. But I thought the Blue Jays had a way better chance of beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really care which team won that. I thought it was cool either way. The Blue Jays haven't won in forever either. I know that Seattle's never even been there, but Blue Jays haven't won in, 32 years either. So
right,
most of their fans, they haven't seen one either. So either way.
They're both awesome teams. They're both super likable. Probably the most fun ALCS we've had since the last time the Blue Jays were there, because this is the first one since 2016 without the Astros or Yankees. So a lot of fun for us. But you hold no animosity to the Blue Jays as a division rival, because I've heard a mix.
Personally, I don't. We haven't really had conflict with them. The 2 players that had conflict in recent memory are Alex Verdugo and Alek Manoah, and neither of those players are on either team anymore. Like I can't be mad at either of them. Like, a lot of Red Sox fans don't like Vlad, but just because he beats you, don't pitch to him. He can't beat you if you don't pitch to him. Just don't pitch to him. I love Vlad. And then he was doing the whole thing with Poppy after eliminating the Yankees. They're our allies more than ever right now. They knocked out the Yankees. Of course, I'm kind of rooting for them when they don't want the Yankees as well. Their best player hates the Yankees more than anyone on the Red Sox hates the Yankees. So, yeah, I don't mind them.
Back to the Yankees, I noticed you raised an eyebrow when I said I think this year's Yankees squad is better than last year's. What are your thoughts on that?
I think with certain franchises, getting rid of a star player and adding guys like Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt is an effective strategy. But with a team like the New York Yankees, when you trade for a superstar like Juan Soto, you got to keep him. I see that you're wearing a Mets hat here, but you have to keep Juan Soto if you make that trade. Not that the Yankees gave up like a ridiculous amount for Soto, although Michael King is very, very good, but he's a free agent now anyway. But if you make that trade, you just have to go out and keep him. I'm going to say the same thing about Kyle Tucker. No matter what the Cubs do this offseason, if they don't keep Kyle Tucker, I think it's a huge mistake, even though he didn't have the greatest season with the Cubs this year. But I don't know. Those high market teams, when you get those superstars, I think you really have to find a way to keep them. And it might not matter as much in the regular season, but in the postseason, you need guys that are going to carry you. And I feel like the Yankees didn't really have that outside of Aaron Judge this year. And if they had Juan Soto, I don't know. I feel like that could easily be the difference in a series. Not necessarily that Blue Jays series either way, because the Blue Jays dominated them in that series. But if it was the Marlins, yeah, they might have gotten better. But because you're the Yankees, you have to keep that superstar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm obviously a Juan Soto guy. It's not so much about his value, but more like you look at the lineup and you had Verdugo starting in a World Series lineup there. You know, it just I didn't see that Yankees team doing anything last year. But I mean, obviously Soto took them there, but once they were in the World Series, I'm like, this thing's gonna be over in 5. You know, this year at least they were a little more balanced than say having like Rizzo and Verdugo. Bellinger was really good for them. But by no means am I saying a lot of Yankee fans were saying like, oh, I'm glad, you know what? I'm glad we don't have Soto. We got all these guys instead, which is just insane cope, to be honest. Soto was the only reason we made it to the last day of the season, to be honest with you.
I don't know. Going into this season, I really thought that the Yankees were going to be nothing. They were better than I expected because, I mean, like, I knew that Ben Rice had the good metrics last year, but like Austin Wells, he didn't do it for me last year, even though Yankees fans act like they can trade him for Bryce Harper for some reason. But they like Austin Wells for some reason. And then I don't know, just that loss of Soto. I didn't predict that Trent Grisham was going to hit 35 home runs. How could you? And then even in the playoffs or even throughout the regular season, the bullpen looked like it was supposed to be good. It was awful all year. And then I don't know. I'm not the biggest Max Fried or Carlos Rodon guy. I know that might sound like, oh, you're a Red Sox fan. Of course, you're not going to be super loving towards all the Yankees players, but I don't know. I just don't, their players don't do it for me, except obviously Aaron Judge, but
Yeah, it seems like a given that they're not going to win in this window.
no.
They're stagnant. They play like the worst fundamentals I've ever seen. The only one that defends really well is McMahon. He's actually been solid at third, but
Yeah.
he can't hit in the clutch, or he's not going to be that guy offensively.
I didn't like that
I
move
think
either.
they need to revamp. They need something. Boone should have been fired years ago. They're just running in place. I don't know. It's just, to me, with Boone, the reasoning would be more for the defense. I think that's on your coach. Your manager should be instilling those fundamentals in you,
Yeah.
but they're stagnant and their heads are in the sand, and this is just what's going to keep happening. They're going to keep making the playoffs, get themselves really amped up with high expectations, and fall flat on their face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really don't know where they go this offseason specifically. They don't have a lot of money until they reach their $300 million threshold, which Hal Steinbrenner has said that he doesn't feel comfortable going above 3 million. And they realistically need to start by bringing back Bellinger and Grisham, and that almost puts you at 300 million. So it's not like there's improvements coming. You might be able to build the same team and then hope that Jason Dominguez finally breaks out in like his third season when he hasn't done anything, or I like Volpe. Like Volpe's not going to be good. He's not a good player. Or Austin Wells, he might hit you 20 home runs, but I don't know. That Yankees team just doesn't. And then the prospects too, like Spencer Jones and George Lombard. Spencer Jones is not going to be good in MLB. I don't care what Yankees fans say. He doesn't make contact. He strikes out every at bat. It's not going to work in MLB.
Yeah, I think that organization is a mess. Despite what happened to the Mets this year, I'd still much rather be in our position than the Yankees' position.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
It's again the cope of like they on the day we got eliminated. I saw so many Yankees fans saying like, "Oh, was it worth the 765 million? Oh, look at that. Juan Soto didn't even get you." We're like, it wasn't Juan Soto. He had his best statistical year, arguably, of his career. It was the pitching, really.
Yeah, Juan Soto was worth it, and he'll always be worth it. It's Juan Soto. Unless he gets injured, he's going to be the best player on the field unless you're playing Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani realistically. It was definitely worth it. That's still a good contract in my opinion. In my Mets video, I said that when they got eliminated, I called them like a $300 million disappointment or something, I think. I said that Juan Soto was the bright spot and that was the best thing that the Mets did this year, obviously, because they locked up one of the best players in baseball for a very long time. And I got so many comments about that exact thing. Oh, they didn't even make the playoffs. How could an $800 million player be paid correctly? It's what it costs. It's what it costs.
Wasn't a 1-year deal. It's funny. They're treating his Yankees deal like he was there for 10 years.
I know.
They're like, how could you betray us like this? He was 1-year rental. And then Now the Mets signed him for 15, and it's like, oh, look at this one season here. That was a failure. It was never about this year. You remember when Scherzer got traded, they said they were aiming at 2026.
Mm-hmm.
They outright said the goal is 2026.
Yeah,
The narratives are wild to me.
yeah, it's definitely the right move. If you can get Juan Soto, it's the right move. If it's $1.2 billion, it doesn't matter. It's Juan Soto. It's the same thing with Shohei Ohtani. He takes over games. Honestly, a team could have given Shohei Ohtani $2 billion, and it would have been worth it in my eyes. I mean, whatever somebody's gonna pay, you have to top to get a guy like Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. So it's worth it. You need a guy like that.
Cohen has $20 billion. Why do I care if he's given that much to Soto?
No,
It gets Soto in the door, you know? Yeah. I don't care about the number. It's his money, not mine. That's how I view it, to be honest.
Of course not. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Dodgers are ruining baseball?
Ooh. See, here's the thing. My opinion on salary caps changed in 2020 when Steve Cohen bought the Mets. I'm not ashamed of that. Yeah. I used to be so in favor of salary caps, and now I pump the brakes on that. I'm like, well, now that we're the ones benefiting, I'm not going to say anything.
Now that we can throw $50 million to Justin Verlander at 39 years old.
Because it's his money, he can do it. I really do feel for small market teams, though. I think something needs to be done, though, for sure. Like if I'm being objective, yeah, they've got to do something because it's getting ridiculous. And the deferred money, I mean, like Milwaukee can't afford that. Actually, our guest last week, George Grand, who was the first ever host of SportsCenter, and he broadcast Reds games for like 30 years. Go check that out. He's remarkable resume. He said last week on the show that he was talking to the owner of the Reds after the Ohtani deal was first signed. And the owner said, he's like, I'm paying like the whole team that amount of money. Like, yeah. But I don't know. I do think some of the small market owners could definitely afford to be spending more than they are.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Like, we'll get Pittsburgh, for example.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, how is a Milwaukee or a Cleveland supposed to match what the Dodgers can do year in, year out?
They could start by not shopping Freddie Peralta when he's making $8 million after they just had the best record in MLB. I'm so far in the favor of the players. I've talked to a good amount of people just from my connections with this channel. Not players. I haven't talked to players, but like just other people in sports media. And the owners are just liars. Like, no matter what they say, it's just wrong. Like, I'm not saying that they're making $200 billion every year or whatever, or 200 million. I'm not saying that they're making that, but they are definitely making substantially more than they are pretending they are, especially the lower market teams that are not spending a lot of money because of the revenue sharing. I think that, especially in the case of Shohei Ohtani, he brings in so many tickets and so many Japanese marketing and TV deals for Japan. I feel like any team could have easily afforded that specific contract. Juan Soto's a little bit different because you're not going to get like that much more marketing. But the marketing potential with a guy like Shohei Ohtani is so ridiculous that I think that $700 million is going to be an absolute steal by the end of that. And then I just think to like the Marlins, they are the lowest valuation for a franchise, but they gave Stanton almost $400 million, didn't they? I know they traded him, but wasn't that like a 15-year, $360 million contract that they gave him?
I
So,
don't remember the number, but I definitely agree with your general point here. Like a lot of these small market owners can do more than they're
mhm,
doing. They just aren't because they want to make a profit, you know.
mhm,
Look at again, Pittsburgh's the biggest example of it.
yeah,
I think they're running that iconic franchise into the ground, and they don't seem to care. It's status quo. A lot of these guys are as long as we're making money, then we're fine. But they're not looking at the bigger picture. If you win games, you make more money, so spend more.
mhm,
Trust me, I I lived through the Wilpons. I had the
yeah,
Wilpons growing up,
mhm,
so I became very, very averse to that type of ownership. And we all know they could have spent more than they did. And that's I love Steve Cohen. There's some Mets fans are like, is it time to reevaluate what he's done? He hasn't won anything here yet. I'm like, that is absurd. It's only been 4 seasons.
mhm,
It's and look at the culture that's changed. The ballpark's so much better to go to. We had we set Citi Field attendance records last season. It was by far the best attendance we've gotten since 2009 when that opened up.
mhm,
So I think like in general, if you're looking at the broad perspective of the world, like no, athletes don't need to be making that much, you know.
no,
But you got to remember, it's these owners' money. It's
yeah,
their money that they were going to have anyway. They should
yeah,
be spending it on making the team the best that it can be and making the experience the best that it can be for the fans who are paying to go see the product.
yeah. I always hear something like, well, doctors aren't making through the players aren't taking money away from doctors. If anything, they're actually adding money to doctors because the teams are paying so much to doctors because they need them. But like you can't compare
I never thought of that.
an athlete to a doctor because it's not the same pool of money. It's oh well, if athletes only got $10 million, then the best brain surgeon would get more money. No, John Henry would get more. It doesn't matter. That doesn't do anything for the doctors or anyone. It just makes wealthy businessmen at the highest level more money. And who cares? Who cares about that?
Yeah.
Like John Henry specifically, he's been under luxury tax for many years in a row. And again, he owns FSG, which is absolutely massive, and also owns Liverpool, the Liverpool Soccer Club in England. It
The
owns
Penguins.
the Penguins, and it owns a bunch of other stuff. Like it owns Nessun, so it owns all of its TV deals. It owns the Boston Globe, which is like the biggest
I
newspaper
didn't even know
company and online industry in Boston. It owns so much money that all goes to John Henry. He can definitely go well above the luxury tax if he wants to. Like if he doesn't go out this offseason and extend Alex Bregman and then go out and get a Pete Alonso or a Kyle Schwarber and a starting pitcher too with the position that the Red Sox are in, I don't want to hear what he's saying. It doesn't matter. He can do it. If he doesn't care about winning this year.
I had a bit of an internet delay there, so I missed the tail end of what you said. But yeah, I mean, it's the pool of money that's going to go to these owners anyway. They're
Mhm,
getting that money anyway. Who
mhm.
deserves more of that money? It's the people who are actually playing. Now,
Yeah.
like you could get into a whole conversation, you know, like maybe the billionaires' money could be going elsewhere. I don't want to get too political,
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's like I don't know. This pool of money is what's the revenue from sports. It should be going to the people who are actually playing out
Mhm,
of the like I'd rather see the players get more than the owners. And that's why I love Steve Cohen. I mean, he's coming in with 20 billion, but he's like, I want to pump as much into this team as I can because we want to win, you know?
mhm.
He's been saying since he bought the team that he wants it to be Dodgers East, which the Dodgers took a few years to get to this point, you know.
Yeah.
In the at the where the Dodgers were in the very beginning of the 2010s, in my opinion. And I think we'll get there. And
Mhm,
signing Juan Soto, trading for Francisco Lindor, all those moves, even I'll even throw Scherzer and Verlander in there, were him spending his money to try to make the team the best that it can be.
Mhm.
And that's what I think all owners should be doing. And that's what I grew up with the exact opposite of Steve Cohen, a man who put his money into Bernie Madoff, and then after the scandal went through, he refused to spend much money on the team at all.
Mhm.
You can only imagine that 2015 Mets team that was just 3 wins away from a championship. If they had just spent a little more, how good they would have been.
Exactly.
So I'm thrilled being on the good side of it. Now you Red Sox fans are getting a taste of what I grew up with now. It's kind of like we switched roles. The Red Sox used to be freer spending than this.
Now we have
They
to watch
let
Mookie Betts in back-to-back World Series.
Yeah. Yep. Now you're seeing what I grew up with.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm happy with Steve Cohen. I do think like something could be done to help the smaller market teams a little, but maybe that means a spending floor. I like the spending floor idea
Mhm.
because you're right, they could be spending more than they do. So like a salary floor could do a lot to incentivize more spending.
Yes, I fully would love if the salary floor was added and the salary cap was not added. The only issue with that is the owners want a salary cap and they don't want a salary floor. Like that's a double negative for the owners. So there's no way that you're getting one without the other. If you get the floor, you're
Right.
getting the cap. Because the owners do not want this floor. Well, at least a decent amount of them. Like the Reds owner, the Brewers owner, Pirates owner, Marlins, these guys are not going to want a floor that makes them spend a certain amount of money. So if you're going to do the
Owen
floor,
probably doesn't care.
yeah, Cohen does not care at all. The high market teams would probably want the floor because then they'd have to give less money in revenue sharing. But for the teams that are going to want the floor, they're going to be the teams that are against the cap, and then it's going to be that's also the players. So if you're going to get the floor, you also have to get the cap. Because I've seen so many people say, "Well, what about just the floor?" No owner is signing off on just the floor, or at least not enough
Yeah.
of them to get it. So this CBA is going to be such a mess in 2027. But I do think that they'll land on having to do the floor and the cap eventually, and then probably getting rid of deferrals as much as possible. Although players also like deferrals, so I don't know. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, I'm bracing for a short season in 2027, whether that means they start late. Hopefully we get a World Series that year, but it's not looking pretty. But yeah, I know. It's like I'm somewhere it's like in theory I'd be fine with the cap and the floor. As a Mets fan,
Yeah.
I don't want to see a cap because I like that we can just get anyone now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'd like to see us take advantage of that this offseason. And I think 2026 was the target. Like I said, and you got minor leaguers coming up for the Mets like Benji, and now you see the pitching arms that have come up through the Mets system now.
They're good.
They're in great shape for next year, I think, despite what happened. They're going to purge. I think we can live without a lot of the free agents that are on the board. I saw a post yesterday. It's like 10 free agents or something like that for the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got to try to keep Alonso and Diaz. I'm worried about Alonso. I'm starting to get the feeling he might walk, but
Yeah, I agree.
I hope I'm wrong. I thought he was out the door last year, and that ended up wrong because no one else was willing to pay. But he had a
Mm-hmm.
great season this year. I thought he was going to regress this past year. He didn't, because I had some concerns about him in 2023 and the first half of 2024. So I was prepared for him to leave after that playoff run,
Mm-hmm.
which really saved his year. But then this year he was consistently really good. He had a
Almost
few slumps
everything.
here and there.
Yeah, almost everything that he was bad at in previous seasons, he got good at this year, except defense. Of course, he's never going to be good at defense, but he really changed. That's how I was looking at it last year too. a couple of my friends were like, we should go after Pete. And I was like, no, his Savant page is really bad. Like, this is not a player that you want to project long-term for. Now I want him badly this offseason because he fixed a bunch of the stuff, like the strikeout problems, the whiff problems. He fixed a lot of it.
He stopped chasing at those low outside pitches that he would go after every at bat. It felt like he got a better eye. That's what really pushed him up. He got more patient at the plate, and especially in the first half of the season, it was all the difference in the world. So he impressed me. I really thought he was going to start regressing fast, but he, like you said, he fixed all those things. Now I think it'd just be horrible morale wise too. Last year, a lot of it was I wanted to keep him mostly sentimentally for morale. He's the guy. I want to see him break the record. It's like, oh, he was his best self this year. Yeah, I want him for them all that. Plus now the fact that he's really playing his best baseball.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm worried about. Now I think teams are going to be more willing to spend on him than they were last offseason. Hoping in Steve, I like that he's in touch with what this fan base is feeling. He knows fans are livid right now after what happened last year. My hope is that he just opens the bank. He sees that Mets fans are frustrated. It would be a disaster if they lose the face of the franchise. Even though I think Lindor is really the guy, in my opinion, but Alonso is really like the face.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think Steve, I can't see Steve letting that happen willingly. I do know Pete wants 7 years. That's a high ask, but I don't think he's going to be good in 7 years. I don't care. Just give him whatever he wants. That's where I'm at with it. He's our all-time franchise home run leader now. You can't lose him. He's got to retire a Met. So that's my biggest fear with the offseason. We do need starting pitchers. Bad. Really bad. If Tarek Skubal's available, I think they do whatever it takes. Maybe I don't want to say whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, minus sending Benji and McLean. Those are the only two that are intangible for me. Anyone else, really, I'd be willing to send over there. We need an ace bad. That was our biggest hole. And there's a range of younger guys that are MLB ready that I think a lot of teams are interested in, like Brett Beatty, who impressed me this year. Guys like Vientos, Mauricio. I think Jet Williams is someone they probably are going to part with, which I can live with now that we have a good amount of prospects. It's a weird situation the Mets are in where we have, for the first time in my lifetime, both a really good farm system and good major league talent. So, I don't know. How do you see the Mets season looking?
I do think that the Mets are in a very similar position to the Red Sox because I think that they're also in a situation where it's like the farm is good, especially with pitchers, because the Red Sox have never had good pitchers, and now they have guys like Tolley and Early just coming up and dominating almost immediately. But yeah, I think that the Mets rotation is going to be way better next year. I thought going into the season, I didn't have them making the playoffs because of their rotation. I thought it was really, really bad. And it was until the prospects came. Well, actually, like the first month and a half of the season, for some reason, the Mets, every single person that threw a baseball for them was the greatest pitcher of all time. That was weird. That made no sense to me. But then after a few months, they remembered that none of them were good, really. But now Senga will be coming back because he missed almost all of last year. And when he did pitch, wasn't he pretty bad last year except for that first stretch? In the second half, he was rough, right, Senga?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was really ugly to the point where they stopped starting him.
Yeah. So Senga, hopefully he's back to being Kodai Senga. And then the pitchers that came up, McLean and who was the other? There was another one. Tong. Yeah.
And Sproat.
And Sprout too. Yeah. Those guys will make it way better. And then I'm sure Cohen's going to go after another pitcher. So
yeah,
when the offense is good, yeah, should be good. I think they'll be good next year.
Yeah, sorry for cutting you off. There's again a Wi-Fi lag on my end.
You're good.
But I think you hold on to McLean no matter what. Carson Benji is one of our best hitting prospects. He looks like he's going to be unreal. Hold on to him. And then I think they're going to have to part with Tong or Sproat to get somebody like Tarek Skubal or another high-end pitcher. Because of the price, and I can live with that. I really liked Tong. I definitely think they called him up too early, and that's why he had a few really rough starts, but his good starts looked really good. I'm not concerned about how he's going to turn out. I think his really good starts are what he's going to be. They just rushed him a little bit. He had like 3 AAA starts or something. But he led the minors in strikeouts. He's got great put away stuff. And Sproat looks solid too. McLean's obviously the best out of them. The movement on his stuff is unreal. But we need to pick up a good free agent pitcher. Who's available on the market this year?
A lot
for starting
of
pitchers?
guys. A lot of guys are available. There's Michael King, Zach Gallen, Framber Valdez is available. Dylan Cease. Not Framber. I
want nothing to do with Valdez.
Stay away from Framber after that. I know. I was like, I wanted Framber, and then that happened, and I was like, oh, don't. I wouldn't even want him for league minimum anymore. No way.
No. As bad as our pitching was, no.
And then I think there's a couple more like elite options, I thought as well. There's a lot though. It's a very heavy free agency for starting pitching. And then the trade market, Hunter Green is rumored, Freddie Peralta, maybe Skubal, and then like someone like Sonny Gray, maybe Sandy Alcantara still. There's a lot of guys this market.
The Mets have been rumored with Alcantara for a while now. And Tarek, with the way those contract talks are going, I think he's out the door. So I think the Mets should do whatever it takes for Tarek. Then I'd like to see one of those other guys come in because we can afford to do that, Again, nothing to do with Valdez. I don't want him anywhere near this team. And then in terms of our current guys, David Peterson, I'm a believer in David Peterson despite the way he trailed off at the end of the year. Someone else, I cannot believe I'm saying this, Clay Holmes. I want him at minimum to be either a 5 or pitch middle innings. I'd rather have him go middle innings. He was someone I couldn't stand him all year. And then that last start came in and they were showing his stats. He was top 10 in ERA. I was like, what? I couldn't believe that. I'd like him for the bullpen. Keep him in the bullpen. Maybe the 5 if somebody gets hurt. If assuming we pick up, I want to see us get like 3 starters. So I want to see us go all out. And I think this is why I think our front office did what they did, telling Scherzer 2025 or 2026 is going to be the target, because I think they knew Soto was going to be available the first offseason, and then the second one, all the pitchers. So I think they really timed everything around that. 2024 was just a surprise. I don't think anybody expected that. No. I think these last 2 years were supposed to be retool years, and with 2024, you got more than you could ask for in a retool year. And now this is really where things are going to start clicking. Despite a lot of Mets fans are going full doomer right now after that, I think 2026 and 2027, the Mets are going to be in their peak because of, again, they timed it for this. They timed the market. They didn't spend a lot the last 2 years. Now they're going to go all in. They went all in on Soto for offense, and now it's the pitching's turn for them to go all in. They've got to get some arms like Gallen or there was another arm you said that jumped out to me in the very beginning. I'm blanking on who you said.
King.
Oh, King. Yeah, I love Michael King.
He's the one that I like too.
Yeah, Rhode Islander, we got to go in and get some of those arms, and then some more of our young bats like Williams and Benji will come up. You can part with a lot of the guys that are free agents. I want to keep Rogers for the pen. Obviously, we already talked about Alonso. Diaz, yes, of course,
Mm-hmm.
spend whatever he wants to. And then um, I'd be willing, and this is a hot take among Mets fans, I'd be willing to give Helsley another look. I think he was tipping his pitches. I think it was a rough adjustment, but it's low on the priority list. But if we're there and we still need a little more work on the bullpen, you know what? Sure. Like, welcome him back in. I'd rather get Canning before him. And if we're in a position where Holmes can move to the bullpen, I think that'd be great. But I do feel better about 2026, and I think new coaching will help. I don't think the hitting coach Chavez was doing much
No.
for our offense. It's an interesting position. It's going to be a very fascinating offseason for the Mets. But moving to your guys, the Red Sox, you had a surprisingly good season. I thought your ceiling was, I thought your ceiling was the ALDS and the wild card, just making the playoffs, and that's what you did. So I'd count it as a successful year for you guys. What do you think?
I was really high on them going into the season. I thought they did exactly what they had to do to make a leap into being like one of the better teams in the American League, because this league looked very weak on paper. The Mariners got a lot better in the second half, and the Blue Jays were better than literally anyone in the world thought that they were going to be at the beginning of the season. So I was a little disappointed, but also there were so many injuries. I think if they weren't as injured as they were, they probably would have beaten the Yankees. And then that would have been a fine season, in my opinion, if you had just knocked out the Yankees. But like Roman Anthony not being there, I think that really is just the difference. Like if you have Roman Anthony, I think that really does beat the Yankees. But next off season, I still want them to go after Joe Ryan. I know that there was all that talk about that during the trade deadline. I think that that makes a ton of sense. I'd realistically give up essentially anything for that. If the Reds were actually serious about trading Hunter Green, I would easily give up any player on the entire roster other than Tarek Skubal. He's not on the roster. Other than Garrett Crochet or Roman Anthony, easily, to get Hunter Green for sure. And then re-sign Alex Bregman and go and get Schwarber or Alonso, whichever one fits better. I would prefer, I don't know which one I would prefer, actually. Either one of them, Schwarber or Alonso. They just need more power. They really do.
I think it's funny, we're in the same boat. We both have a pitcher we want to trade for and just have one hitter and one hitter, one pitcher we wouldn't touch. But I mean, obviously the Mets aren't touching Soto Lindor, so I didn't bother to include them.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I think you guys are in a better spot than I expected you to be in. Crochet worked out incredibly. That was a phenomenal trade. You didn't give up like anything, really. Kyle Teal was the best piece in that.
Yeah, we gave up prospect depth, really.
But you can afford to. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, and if I was the Mets, I would do anything to get Skubal. Just looking at what Crochet meant for the Red Sox, and also like Cohen can pay him. Like if the Tigers are so embarrassing that they are not going to pay Skubal, I would trade for him and I would make him an offer that he will not go to free agency if he receives. That is what I would do personally. And if that took McClain, I know that he is extremely good. He's not going to be Skubal. He's just not good. Nobody's Skubal except Paul Skeens. So if you could trade McClain and then guarantee that you get Skubal for the next 7 to 10 years, I'd do that for sure, in my opinion.
That's tough. That's tough because watching him watching McLean,
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen anything like that since DeGrom.
Yeah.
The movement on his pitches, and he's just getting started. That's somebody long term could be great. I think we could get him without needing to trade McLean, to be honest.
Yeah,
If
of
you
course.
give up like
Yeah. If you
Tong,
could,
Sproat, Baby Mauricio, Vientos, Williams, and then any of the minor leaguers that I don't even know about, even someone like what's his name? AJ McEwing, like anyone besides McLean, I'm open to it. I think you could definitely do that. Even
yeah,
Benji reluctantly. I'd rather keep McLean than Benji, but Benji's gonna be a really good talent.
I also don't think that you would have to give up McLean, but I'm just saying in the world where they say McLean or we're not doing it, I think I would put McLean in just because it's like a guarantee. Where McLean, the stuff is really good, but we've seen guys with really, really good stuff get figured out for some reason. I'm not saying I think McLean is going to get figured out. I've watched him too the same way that you have, and he is disgusting, but I don't know. Tarek Skubal, I think he's better than Paul Skeens personally, just because of what he's done in the playoffs. I think he's gonna be the best pitcher of the 2020s when it's all said and done. So I would personally do anything to get Skubal, except I wouldn't give up Roman Anthony if I was the Red Sox, because I just don't trust the Red Sox in extending the player like I would trust the Mets doing. Because if the Mets made a splash like that, Cohen would just be like, I don't care, whatever. Like, but Henry's not going to do that, so that's where there's a little bit of a difference there. But if I had Steve Cohen as my owner, I'd talk to him and be like, "Hey, I'm going to trade for this guy. You're going to extend him, and we're going to go and win now." And that's what I would do personally. But
No, it's a vision there for sure. I definitely think behind re-signing Alonso, this is the priority. I want to see us gone for Skubal, and I think we will. I'm already hearing rumors about it.
I agree. I think you guys are the best chance of getting him.
Yeah, imagine Skubal and McLean 1-2. And that's just if we don't pick up someone else, which we could with our money. If you're looking at Skubal, King, McLean, and I sounded like a delirious fan here, like dreaming up stuff, but if you told me like 10 years ago that this would even be possible to be trying to trade for the best pitcher in all of baseball while having like a top 3 hitter in baseball already, and then like I'm high on the Mets this upcoming year despite the heartbreak that just happened.
As long as they go out and get a real starting pitcher and don't get Frankie Montas and Clay Holmes, yeah, I agree. If they don't go out and sign two 40-year-olds and don't go out and sign a reliever and a guy who shouldn't be in baseball, and you guys should be all set. But for some reason, the Mets haven't really gone after like the starting pitching that you would want to go after almost the whole time that Cohen has been there, realistically.
I didn't hate the Scherzer and Verlander moves at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend I was like, oh, this isn't going to go well, But I think again, I think they waited it out till it got to this point. I think they knew this was going to be the best market for it. I think that explains why they did what they did. They just rented last year. Kind of what they did in 2024 again, except it really was surprisingly, it worked well. Like nobody saw Manaya doing what he did, or nobody's, like Severino. I think they've been renting the last 2 years waiting for this market, just like they did for offense. Like they were waiting it out till Soto got here. And that's why they told Scherzer we're aiming for 2026. So I'm optimistic. I think they're gonna do it. But back to the World Series as we wrap up here in the last like 5 or so minutes.
Yep.
Do you have a prediction for the next 3 games?
I think the Blue Jays are going to win it. I'm not sure if it's 6 or 7. Ooh, I said the thing. I've gotten so many comments on YouTube about that, especially when I mentioned like Aaron Judge's height because it is 6'7". Oh my! I'm traumatized
You
by
can't
those
escape
numbers.
it.
No, it's impossible. I don't know if it's going to be games 7 or 6 that it finishes in. I don't know, but I think that the Blue Jays are going to win it unless I don't know. It would have to be one of the Blue Jays pitchers, either Snell or Yamamoto, just absolutely shoving for 8 or 9 innings again. And I don't see that happening again. Like Yamamoto can't throw back to back to back complete game shutouts, right? That would be insane. And then Snell already kind of got
I'm too afraid to count it out.
Yeah, Yamamoto is definitely he's so good, but yeah, I think that the Blue Jays are going to win. They're going to obviously have home field in Toronto once they get back there. They also went down 3-2 to Seattle, and they came back and won it. They won both games in Toronto. So even if they lose tonight, I think that they have a pretty good chance. I was worried after game 3. I thought that Toronto really had to win game 3. But now that they've won game 4 and that didn't phase them, I feel pretty comfortable predicting that the Blue Jays win.
Yeah, I could see it for sure. My original series prediction was Dodgers in 6, but a close 6. More out of fear than any because going into this playoff, I didn't think the Dodgers would even make the World Series. It was a hotter take. It was a wrong take, but they were cold in August. Their bullpen had so many holes. But then they did what they do and they played their best. It reminds me of the Chiefs when I was picking against the Chiefs their second year in a row because they had holes and then all of a sudden they locked in the playoffs and I was like,
Holes don't
yeah.
matter.
So it was more of a fear of repeating that pick,
Mhm.
but I've been high on this Blue Jays team. I got to see them. I went to Yankee Stadium in September, saw them lose, but it was Fried versus Scherzer, which was cool. So I've been high on them for a while. I like the depth of their lineup. Guys like Barger, Varsho, and like just Lucas, like those guys being they have so much depth, and I love teams like that. That it's not all just big names and then top heavy, but they can kill you all the way through. I thought the Brewers were the same thing.
I agree.
I thought the Brewers were going to beat the Dodgers, to be honest with you. But I said Dodgers in 6, but I was saying this is going to be way closer than people think. I was high on this Blue Jays team, but I didn't want to pick against the Devil Magic. But now I'm afraid again. I'm afraid I'm going to jinx it if I pick the Blue Jays. But I'll say I can see them alternating wins now where the Blue Jays win tonight, Dodgers win when Yamamoto starts, Blue Jays knock it out in 7. They're so clutch. And a question that I should know the answer of, is Springer going to come back in this series?
I don't think so. I think he strained his oblique. I don't think that's come out yet, but I'm pretty confident that that's that oblique spot that you do not want to see guys grabbing. That's the same thing that happened to Anthony. Yeah.
Well, look what they just did yesterday. You know, you have no Springer and you beat up the Dodgers at their place, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter. They didn't have Bo the whole playoff run and it didn't matter. So I don't know. They feel like the team of destiny. That's all I'll say. They felt like it all playoff run, but they really feel like it right now. That's
going into the series, you know, it's funny. Actually, going into the playoffs, I joked. I was like, it's always a team that's good, but nobody's thinking about. And I was like, I feel like it's gonna be something like Blue Jays Cubs this year, which wasn't far off because that's always what it is. Like, think about the Rangers. 2 years. It's always a team that's like, once they're there, you're like, oh yeah, no, they're really talented, but nobody's putting them as the top World Series contender, but they're also not the big underdog either. It's always that middle pack. But I was looking at stuff from 2019, and it just reminded me so much of that because that Astros lineup or the Astros rotation was otherworldly. And then Garrett Cole went like 25 games without allowing a run consecutively, but then he allowed 5 earned runs in one of those World Series games. So I was saying to my group chat, I'm like, guys, look at this. Like the Astros, the 2019 Astros had a case for like one of the better teams in recent history. And they lost to the Nationals team that's worse than this Blue Jays team. So I'm like, you give one bad start and this thing is open game. And they had it in game 1. Snell was not himself. That's all it took to flip this thing.
That's what's crazy about baseball. It really is. Anyone can get hot and beat anyone. It's such a difficult sport that if you're hot, you really can just win and win and win, because it's so hard that even guys like Shohei Ohtani are going to go into major slumps. In football, Jamar Chase is never really going to go into like a slump where it lasts 2 weeks. It's just not going to happen. He might make a drop, but then he's going to immediately go downfield and catch a 60-yard touchdown. If Shohei Ohtani's off, he might be off for 2 weeks. It's how it works in baseball, and it really doesn't work like that in other sports. So that's why the playoffs are so interesting, and also can be so frustrating as like a fan that's in them, because it's like our bats fell asleep for 2 games, and now after 162 games, we're done. That's it. It's crazy.
It's the beauty of it. And Dodgers bats are asleep right now. It's prime time for the Blue Jays. Both hoping Jays win. Love to see that. They're a fun team, great fans. 6 stadiums, 6 jerseys, in my opinion. And it would be such a vibe if they beat the Dodgers. A little repeat of 2019. But Keegan, thanks a lot for joining me here. I'll stay tuned to your videos. I'm sure we'll get some more content from you in the next few weeks. Would love to watch a Dodgers downfall video. But yeah, thanks for hopping on, man.
It'll be there as long as they lose. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, so that's going to do it for us on Fiore Calls Game. Next week, 12 o'clock again, it's going to be Thor Bjorn, the athletic director at the University of Rhode Island. So tune in for that. But for this week, that'll do it for me. This is Fiore calling.